So let me introduce Lilly Thomas, and she is a student at Fort Lewis. I almost said Fort Collins, Fort Lewis College in Durango. She was one of the outstanding students who represented AAUW Colorado at the national conference for college women student leaders. She is known as Nick Whistle in Washington, D.C. last June. Lilly hailed from Casa Grande, Arizona, where she graduated from Sequim Senior High School. Lilly has distinguished herself as at Fort Lewis as a senior leader for new students and family orientation. She also serves as social media manager and desk assistant in the Student Involvement Center. Lilly is majoring in biology with a minor in anthropology. And we are so pleased that Lilly is able to take some time from her busy student life and join us here today and share with us her story. And welcome, Lilly, and you can turn on your video.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Hi, everyone. I, again, am Lilly Thomas, she, her pronouns, and I'm so grateful to have this time to speak with you about my story and also my experience at Nick Whistle. So, like Nancy said in my introduction, I'm a third-year student here in Fort Lewis College, and I am from Washington State, so I'm an out-of-state student, actually. And I never would have imagined myself being in a position that I am in now. If you told me 3 years ago that, hey, you're going to be a panelist, I would be like, no, that's insane. I have stepped into a beautiful role of student leadership here at the college and it's an experience that I never would have pictured myself as. In high school, I was always a very shy student who wasn't involved in anything really. And then my first year I came here in fall of 21. So right after COVID, I took a year off because I wasn't going to do online school. And I became involved. I was a president of an RSO after my first year. I was a orientation leader for new student family orientation. And I just did a lot of positions that, again, I never thought were possible. And Nick Whistle was one of those opportunities that I just would never have seen myself for. And it was thanks to Dr. Marty Thompson, who told me about the program and who got me in and got my application already and just was a huge help. And going to Nick Whistle, I actually traveled with one of my best friends, Grace Rambachek. She wasn't a recipient of any scholarships, but she did get ahead and go with me. And so it was really nice to have her there with me and have this experience with her. And it was so cool because that first opening night that we had at Nick Whistle, went to the University of Maryland, and their campus is huge, got lost a couple of times. So we went to the opening ceremony, and it was so cool because we were able to connect with all of the other Colorado representative students from Fort Collins, Denver, and we're all still good friends now, and we still talk once in a while. So it was really cool that all the Coloradans kind of like found each other and we were all hanging out. But it was also just an amazing energy. We were in this big conference room and we had the speaker up and they're like, welcome to Nick Whistle. But it was just so powerful to feed off of the energy of all the inspiring young women who were there alongside us in the conference. And it's something that I don't think I will ever fully get over, and something that I don't know, it was an amazing first impression for Nick Whistle. And we did workshops, and I learned a lot from the workshops. There was one that was kind of fun, but it was singing Beyonce's powerful women lyrics, and it was so fun being in a room full and just singing and having fun with these wonderful ladies. And then also we got to go down to Washington, D.C., which that was another just experience that I would have never seen myself. I had never traveled to the East Coast before going to this conference. And I got to go to the museums, go to the memorials, and it was just such an interesting experience because I would never think that I would get to go and see those. I thought I would only see those in photos and videos. And so overall, my experience at Nick Whistle was just one that I would never forget. It was such an amazing, amazing, well put together program. I was able to do a lot of networking and meet a bunch of people. I also met a bunch of people who went to colleges up on the East Coast as well. And like I said, we're still friends today. And so it's really fun to see all these women like continue on in their lives and celebrate their accomplishments, even if we are only together for those 3 days. Like that's kind of insane to think about when I think about it more and put it in perspective. But just yeah, it was amazing. And I always recommend my friends, I'm like, you guys should go try to get into this conference. Like it was so much fun. And I'm always telling them to go ahead and get in touch with AAUW to go ahead and see if they can go to Nick Whistle. Because I think it's an experience that every young woman should feel once in their life. Because it was something that, I don't know, it was just really inspirational. And like I said, I never would have thought I would be in that position. I come from a low income family, and part of the reason why I chose to go to Fort Lewis College and how I ended up in Colorado is because I received the Native American tuition waiver here. And I get, and because of that, it was just made more sense to move my entire life from Washington State to Colorado, to a college I had never visited before, to a state I had only driven through, and also having no family members or anyone closest to me here. So it was a huge change for 19-year-old Lily. And I'm so thankful for that jump because I would have never, I think, created myself into who I am today. I'm very proud to say that I'm a student leader on campus, and I just have these opportunities available to me that I just would not, I don't think, have anywhere else. And talking about higher education, to just touch on it a little bit, I am really grateful to hear a lot of people say things that I agree with about being present and just being there for students and listening to students. Because as someone, I work in higher education here a little bit. With my positions, I'm able to sit on committees. I was on homecoming committee. I've built connections that allow me to just have a bigger voice on campus, if that's makes a little sense. But it's like a big thing. Like for me, I'm a biology major, anthropology minor, and I've had a lot of setbacks. I've had a lot of setbacks in my college career, a lot of issues balancing, because I think people tend to forget that when you come to college, you're also figuring out yourself. You're not just here for academics. You are trying to find out where your place is in the world, and you're trying to figure out who you want to present to in a society. And it's hard. And I think for me, it is really important when I have those professors who I can go up to and I could say, hey, I am really struggling here. Is there a way that I can get an extension on this assignment or something like that? And I'm heard by that professor being completely understandable and, just listening and understanding that, yes, I am a student in your class, but I also have other things that happen outside of the hour that I'm with you that affect my life. And I think that's really important. I think that's something that kind of gets forgotten a little bit. Like, yes, we are here in college to get our degree and to do that academic journey, but there's also so many other factors in our lives that I think kind of get forgotten about. And so I find it really just I just find it really understanding when a professor is knows that I'm also a human and is willing to go ahead and let me take an extension on an exam or on an assignment without any like missing points or anything like that. I think that just is like really powerful in higher education. And those professors are the most memorable ones because they saw me and I felt seen by them because it just, I think it's a huge thing because I've had professors who have told me straight up to my face, no, if you do that, you're going to get 25% off of a project. And I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. Um, but I think just being seen and then connecting that whole to higher education as a whole. Like I said, I have experience working with new student orientation. I work with first year students primarily. These are students who are brand new, right out of high school, mostly is the population we serve. And I have done trainings where we learn like how can we make this student feel seen. And a lot of that too is making sure that we are using the right pronouns. That's something that's super easy to do, and not a lot of people do it. Um, for the culture at my college right now, we are working towards it. Like we do have trainings where professors are, I think they're mandatory. Um, don't quote me on that. But just like using the right pronouns, using the right names, like remembering, like there's so much power in just those two things. And so, like, I know whenever I'm an orientation leader, I try to memorize every one of my students' names. And yes, that's like 40 different names, but it's that one moment and that one thing that might make that student feel really comfortable, especially after they just are coming into this new place. And I think that's really important and something that I hope we get better at. Like I said, we're working towards a lot of things here at the college, but it's just always a working force. It's a working wheel. Like you're always constantly trying to go and keep it going. um so yeah, that is what I have to say, I think. If we have questions, I can go ahead and answer them.
Well,
Okay.
Lily, thank you so much. You've given us a great perspective from an actual on the ground student. And so, Darcy, if there are questions, I'll turn it over to you. And thank both Lily and Dr. Petroni for sharing with us today.
Thanks. I wanted to point out, because I had to look it up and remind myself, that NCCWSL stands for the National Conference for College Women Student Leaders. And you have shown us that you've really developed your leadership qualities. I'm pleased to see that. Congratulations.
Thank
So
you.
we have about 2 minutes for questions. I'll give you a choice of two questions. One
Okay.
is there an issue that you'd like to advocate for in the future when you get your degree? Or the other question would be, what's your favorite advice that you give to new students?
Ooh. I think I'll go with the second one is what advice I would give to new students, because this is something that is really close to me. Like I love orientation. I've worked 4 different, oh, my lights just turned off. I'm sorry about that. Let me 1 second. Can we turn that on, please? There we go. I'm so sorry about that. They're motion sensor lights, and I guess I was sitting too long. But orientation is a program that's really close to my heart. I've worked 4 different orientations now. And I think the biggest advice I would give to students is don't be afraid to stand out and put yourself out there. Um, I always like to tell a story about how in my first year, my now mentor, she was the one who got me involved in all of this and really opened the door for me to walk through. And it is because of her personality that just kind of like drew me in. And I decided to take a chance and join this random club for event planning. And I ended up becoming president of that club a year later. So I always tell my students, like, don't be afraid to challenge yourself and to step outside of your comfort zone, because you don't know what the outcome is. And then I always am like, now I do all of this. So that's my biggest advice.
Well, thank you very much. We really enjoyed listening to your talk. I'll turn it back
Thank
to
you.
Nancy.